Welcome to qnawire.
Okay, we've got an NMR spectra of something with C7H14O. We're told it's a ketone. And we're told that the that the two signals which correspond to protons raise 62, integrate to 62, and integrate to 10. Well, you know what? That's probably not a very good to scale. Okay, there we go. How's that? Um, So we need to calculate the number of hydrogens giving rise to each signal and propose a structural formula for this ketone. Right. Well, notice, if you will, that the ratio between these is roughly 6 to 1. Right. Now, in our case, like things would be simple if we just had H7 in our formula. And then be like, oh, okay, one of them corresponds to 6 protons, and one of them corresponds to 1 proton. But that can't be the case here, right? But luckily, 14 is just a multiple of 2, right? So it's very likely then that this corresponds to 12 hydrogens and this corresponds to 2 hydrogens. We'd still have the 6 to 1 ratio, right? So that's kind of my logic for figuring that out, right? So one of the peak corresponds to 12 protons and the other peak corresponds to 2. Okay. Now we've got to figure out, you know, how that might work. Well, what that looks like to me when I see 12 to 2 or 6 to 1 twice, really when I see 6 to 1, what I think is something like this. Okay, I've got a proton here, I've got a bond to something there, and then each of these is a methyl group, right? That is to say, isopropyls very commonly give 6 to 1s, and that's just something you get experience with. I just kind of saw that immediately, but you could work out a bunch of different variations and likely end up with something like this: isopropyls. Now, in this case, we also need, because it's 6 to 1 and we have no other protons, we need this bond to go to something that doesn't have any protons. Well, it could be a double bond to oxygen, a carbon with a double bond to oxygen, right? That wouldn't introduce any new protons, and then we could just have an isopropyl on the other side as well. Right? So we're very likely looking at something like this. For our structure.